that planning and zoning has been researching, discussing, and considering for code changes, specifically the table 2 of the town code in chapter 8185A. This was assigned to us by the commissioners based on recommendations in section 5.1 of comprehensive land use plan for the town of Dewey Beach, and to make permitting simpler for town staff. So Dave Lyons, you're back on. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. Now I will stay to that point, right? So, Ashley, is there a way to give me control so I can just show the first screen? YouTube.
I think you can just take it. You can just share it.
Yeah,
Right?
I'll just do it. Okay.
Yeah, you can try it. Just try it. Yeah. Just go down there to the bottom. Share it.
Where is my document? And just a second. I had it right up. Can you see a Word document that says FAR standards municipal comparison?
Not yet.
No, not yet.
Mr. Harmer.
Yep.
Okay, we have a chart.
Is it I think Fred has something to say there.
Yeah, Mr. Hummer, I just want to remind everyone that I don't think it's inappropriate for us to have a preliminary discussion before the public hearing, but we certainly want to avoid indicating how we feel about certain things with any degree of specificity until after we've heard from the public. So the public process, the public hearing itself is a very important process, as you know. So I think the public is entitled to some kind of an explanation as to why this proposal is coming forward for consideration. And I think that's helpful to inform them before they express themselves at the public hearing. But I want to avoid advocating or deliberating with a great deal of specificity until after the public hearing.
Could I raise a point of order? Just that we're trying to make the meeting live on YouTube, but it still hasn't hit YouTube. So just there's technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Is live.
It's-
Double checked.
Go ahead,
Well, I would, and
Ken?
Fred's
Can the public-
Fred's behalf, I would offer the description of the sort of the direction from the comprehensive plan that was approved a year ago or so that talks about the town needs to, in its residential use, consider the need for modification of the maximum building size in all zoning districts from which is permitted by current code, and then simplify the way the maximum building size is defined and regulated. I think those are, I guess, the marching orders that we've been given as the planning commission as to why we're doing that. So it really goes back to the comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
And I think when we get done, we can check those off as things that the town has accomplished one way or the other, whatever the outcome is.
I'd like to add to that, Marty, that that was our tasked role, and it's been well over a year that we've been having public meetings on this topic. We had a big public workshop not last May 2019, that was hosted by the town council and the planning and zoning. It was very well attended by the public, and that's really where the essence of the ideas in this proposed ordinance, which is only a proposed ordinance, open for discussion. We needed some parameters to find out whether we were in line with what the most of the people in the residential districts really want for their areas.
And I'd like to add just one other thing, Marty. I believe the comprehensive plan also called for defining the nature of the residential zones, right? Defining what they are and preserving them for the future, right? I believe that was also part of the comprehensive plan too, as I recall.
Yep.
Well, it could be. I had quoted from page 81, so there's lots of things in between the first and the 81st page here, but I don't see it under 5.1 is where I quoted from, but yeah, it could very well be. I think the idea is that it certainly is consistent with what the town wants to do in terms of the comprehensive plan, And that's been approved by the state and is an official document. So it gives us a good basis for at least looking at this information.
Right. Okay.
All right, you're on, David.
All right. So, and in no way here am I trying to provide anything other than information that's been provided to me. So first, this first sheet you're looking at was basically a summary that RVE did for me, and I've shared it out. But basically, this is the way the different municipalities are currently, their FAR structure is today. So you can take a look at Dewey Beach, right? In our district, our square footage our FAR is 1. We don't really use the square footage, but we have, that equates to a 5,000 square foot approximately. In the PR and the RR, it's 1.2. And in the 2 columns next to it is what is included and what's not included. Because as we go through this discussion, a big part of what we're talking about is what we're including in our calculation and what we're excluding. So I think it's important to know what's in there, what we are doing today, right? So today we have a very wide perspective in terms of what we do not include in the size and how we size homes. So that makes a difference in how we go. If you were to compare that to something like Bethany or Rehoboth, they have smaller, and they also have a lot more things that are included, which I think is exactly what we're working to do in our recommendation going forward here. So that's basically all this is. I don't need to read it to everybody, but I wanted to highlight just some of the things in the way some of the other municipalities have structured their FAR and their square footage thinking. Okay. And then the next is just, and I'm just going to go in this because Rick's going to go in detail, I'm sure, in terms of what our proposal is. So this was just some of the comments. These were the comments that RVE made to us as we sought out and went to make some decisions and evaluated what we should do. So their overall square footage recommendation, and they did recommend a square footage, not a FAR, not a number, but somewhere between 3,500 and 4,000. And their comments here included, I think, are worth talking about. They say add decks, garages uniformly in all 3 districts, include rooftop decks and garages in the FAR calculation in all the groups. They suggested enclosing porches, habitable attics, and any other habitable spaces such as balconies and mezzanines. In this blue area here, I added this because I asked some advice on how to manage that 3rd floor or the 2.5 story, which is one of the challenges that we as a group have been trying to wrestle with. And so they had some ideas there about how we might do that going forward. Just some input and advice. They also made a recommendation in terms of square footage in the RR and the PR district of 4,500 in the RR and 6,000 in the PR district. So that's what I wanted to include with that, just to give some people some thought as to the thinking, because I think as Rick presents, you'll see that we've kind of tried to adopt a lot of this thinking in our recommendation going forward.
Good,
okay.
thanks. No, that's a very useful summary here, or comparison.
Right, so I wanted to use that. And as you scroll down here, you'll see, and Rick's going to cover this, but down here is all the points that we added in the amendment, or in the proposed amendment. So you can see them and take a look at them as we evaluate them today.
Are you
All right.
going to go over the pictures now, David? Is that your
Yeah, I'm going to do that right now.
Okay.
So as I start this, can you see the slide deck? Can you see the slides?
Looks
Okay,
good.
so I just want to start with, first of all, in no means here am I want to thank, first of all, I want to thank Rick Judge, who worked very closely, not only educating me, but helping think through a lot of the different aspects of this. He's done an amazing job, so I want to thank Rick for his efforts. All in my thinking, what I was hoping to do was to try and get some visualization as we talk about square footage. It's very hard to visualize how big a square foot of a house is. Now, these are estimates. They are based on information that was found either in existing town documents, in Sussex County tax documents. They are approximate. Many of them do not include porches or basements or other living areas. But the point of it is to be able to just take a look and have a sense of what are the different sizes of homes that have been built since 1960, right? Here's where we are today. Everybody see this? This is basically what we know today. Our
Yeah.
one-story homes, about 1,200 square feet, about 40 feet across. Most of them have porches inside. There are 2 to 3 bedrooms. It's interesting to note that 40 feet, I believe most of them are about 40 feet, wouldn't fit in between our setbacks today, our existing setbacks today. So here's just a couple of examples. Home about 3,100 square feet, 3 stories. Here's a newer home that was just constructed on Chesapeake Street, 110 Chesapeake Street. I will say that 2,900, that 2,900 is for 4 bedrooms. It would not have included, when they applied to the city, any of the porches or other areas that we don't include, as I mentioned in the previous slide. Here's a newer home over on Carolina Street. I want to correct this square footage here. It's actually approximately 3,500. The owner, when they wrote in, actually wrote that, corrected that size to be 3,500. Here's the same house on a side view. This house actually sits on a corner lot. Gives you a sense of, this is also a half story. So this complies with our half story requirements that we've done today with the dormers. Across the street is 121. I don't have the square footage of a house, but if you were to look, it's 2.5 stories. And as you go forward, an older home down on Cullen Street, about 3,000 square feet from the records we could find. Here is another home on Cullen Street, about 2,700, and this would not include, obviously, the garages, the porches, and everything like that. Moving forward, this is a newer home on Cullen Street. This is about 3,100 square feet. And this actually happens to be on a lot, and I believe there's a lot next to it as well. Here's a larger home on Cullen Street. It's approximately 4,200 square feet. That living space, that number does not include garages and porches, and it is on a 50 by 100 lot. I would just note that the flat roofs and the garages and everything else. This example of another home, a little bigger, for approximately 4,000 square feet. And here are 2 homes on Chesapeake, 101 and 103. These were constructed about 10, 12 years ago. They're both about 4,500 square feet. The lot on the right is 50 by 100. The one on the left is a bigger lot. It's 50 across the front. It's longer along the road. Here's another example on Cullen Street. This is actually on a lot and a half. It's a 5,000 square foot home. It doesn't include the porches or garages when we look at this. Just want to note that the garages here are slightly below grade. And I only have a couple more here. Here's another home over on Chicago, 4,800 square feet, 8 bedrooms. The lot size here is over 6,500 feet. And I actually found this because it's actually listed out on one of the realtor databases that are out there. So you would notice there's a front building and then there's a back building on this one here. So you get a sense of just the size of the house on a 50-foot by lot. These are other homes on the south side of Chicago Street, 10, 12, 14. I just want to kind of present, 3 floors, the roof lines associated with each of those 3 floors and the porches. Just fairly, if you take a look across, not much green. It's been, a lot of work's been done to maximize parking and access. And I just want to compare and contrast this to what we have today, right? So that's really all I really wanted to present, Mike.
All right, thank you very much, David. Rick, first of all, before Rick, we know you want to speak and talk about all this, but you're going to go through each item. That's good. That's the way you want to handle it. Then we'll go to the public hearing. Then we'll come back and deliberate about opinions. My guess is that we may or may not get this recommended today, and we're in no hurry and all that. But does any other P&Z commissioners want to say anything before Rick takes charge here?
I just want to say that, those photographs are very revealing. I appreciate that input. And,
David and I have been working real hard.
David, he also put together the summary of comments, and we appreciate that too. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And I need to recognize Jim Deeds, the acting town manager, and I think we have another Commissioner Jazinski with us also, if I'm not mistaken. But go ahead, Jim, you wanted to talk.
I just wanted to make a point. In some of the pictures, there are covered porches. They are included in the FAR.
Okay,
Open ones are not.
okay, appreciate it.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
All right, Rick. Let's see if we still have Rick.
Oh, no.
He's got to get your voice back on, Rick. Got to get your that little red thingy on the bottom left. We'll get you. You're not there yet, Rick. You gotta hit it with your finger or something to unmute yourself. So go look at your little picture and the little red microphone. We need you, Rick. You gotta hit the microphone. We don't have you yet. Uh-oh. There you go.
Okay,
Yep. All right,
Yeah.
get on.
I can't wait to get back in the life-saving station and see people face to face and do this on a normal body count type situation. Anyway, I appreciate Dave Lyons' work with the photographs. They do pictures worth 1,000 words for sure. I don't know how many homes have been built in the last 7 to 10 years. Probably 20 in the north end, maybe a little bit more. A lot of them are so much larger than the bungalows. Am I back?
Yeah, you back.
Good Lord. Anyway, there are many people that have invested in our town to build their year-round retirement homes. They don't want or need a seasonal beach house. Much as we like the bungalows that have decorated the north end, it is going to change. What we need to do is make sure it doesn't change to a drastic effect that hurts the character of the town. All of the suggestions in this proposed ordinance reduce the size of what is presently permitted. I will go piece by piece, but the essence of this is we're trying to make the town control cap the maximum build. Right now, there is no cap. If you were to own multiple lots with a 1.0 FAR, if you owned 3 lots, you could build a 15,000 square foot home with unlimited garages. That is out of character for our town. That's a hotel. Presently on a 50 by 100 lot, you can build a 5,000 square foot home plus a garage. That's a 5,600 square foot home under normal things for a max. I don't think anyone has really built that large, but they have the ability to. This proposed ordinance tries to limit it in a fair basis for all parties, for the new homeowners that want to build year-round homes, for the ones who have been here and live there and want to stay in their beach houses, and be fair to everyone. We have taken the building height 35 feet. That is a set in stone piece for the town, whether it's commercial or residential. 35 feet is allowed, whether it's 2.5 story or 3 story. The reason we recommended or have in writing changing 2.5 to 3 story is because of enforcement. If you look at all the photographs that Dave Lyons had the chance to just share with us, it is so difficult for me even to know which is a 3-story home and which is a 2.5 story home. It'll all be 3 stories. If we put in the minimum roof pitch of 412 and allow 3 stories, I think the homes will look very much the way they do at 2.5 stories. If we were to change the concept of a half story to 50% of the level below it, which is not what it is presently, we have a defined half story, which allows a knee wall and dormers and basically the ability to build a 3-story home with more gables. So under the present rules, a 3-story and 2.5 is, in my mind and many people's minds, identical. Therefore, make it 3 stories a roof pitch and make it enforceable. Roof decks, we decided, which had been permitted in the north end, do intrude on the single family neighborhood's privacy. They do add to noise levels because of partying on the rooftop. And we felt that it was really not appropriate and therefore said not permitted. The roof pitch of 412 that's a new add-on, but that would help to box the tower image of a house. It requires a minimum of 412, which is a reasonable pitch in a coastal area. The more pitch, the more safe with coastal storms, et cetera. But basically this is for aesthetics. Ground railings higher than 42 inches. I'm not sure why that is even in our table. That's a building code item, which should just be part of the building code. I think it actually is for rooftop decks, which no longer are allowed. I'm not sure that's important to even have in table 2.
I've got a message that Rick's bandwidth is low on his iPhone or whatever instrument he's using.
All right,
maybe-
looks like he's back.
That all didn't come through?
Yeah, we got you.
Most of it.
Okay, well, how about the story I just told?
We heard the story. Well, wait, which story? We heard you, you cut off at the railings.
Okay, railings I don't feel is appropriate. It's just part of the building code anyway. It doesn't need to be in table 2. But be it as it may, 42 inches is for roof decks, and there are no roof decks, and that can be struck or left in. What I wanted to have the commissioners discuss the difference between 2.5 and 3 stories if we're going in the right direction here. Don't tell me you lost me again.
No, Rick, I think we can still hear you. I would suggest, though, if there's any way you could hold your phone with your in a different place, because I think you're muffling the microphone a little bit.
Okay,
That's
just a little
much
better.
better.
It's
Much
shadier over here too. Thanks, Fred. All right, so if the commissioners can comment on the direction we have recommended with the 2.5 story to 3 story being one of the same.
All right, so I have no comment on that at all. So move on to Marty. Okay.
No, I think, yeah, I'm looking forward to the public comments.
All right. Jimmy O'Connor, you got any comment on that? We need your microphone on.
Good, somebody else is having trouble.
Are you speaking to me?
No, what'd you say, Jimmy?
No, I'm good.
He
All
said
right.
no
I'll
comment.
wait for public.
All right, and David Lyons?
I'll wait for the public comment.
Okay, go ahead, Rick.
All right, let's move on to section 2. Section 2 has to deal with the numeral 15 on a corner lot. We had more discussion on the corner lots at our public workshop, May of 2019, than probably any other topic. Probably 50-50 on those who thought the setback was excessive, those who wanted it to be maintained. We have looked in our own zoning code, in our RR district, which is a more dense district, the corner lot setback is an 8-foot setback. Our neighboring town in Rehoboth is a 10-foot setback. Ours is 15. 15, as it was brought out at the meeting, seems excessive for those who own corner lots and want to build a structure. If we left it at 15 as it is, then you have a 27-foot wide house that you could construct as opposed to a 34 on a regular lot. If you build a 27-foot wide house and you need the space so that you go up to 35 feet, I think you're going to look like a single townhouse as opposed to a single family home. With that in mind, we've discussed a compromise of bringing the 15 not to 8, but to 12. There are other concepts and ideas for making a corner lot more attractive, safe, and not intrusive to either the highway or to its neighbors. And that would be with multiple tiered setbacks per level. But the recommendation in the code for the proposed ordinance is a compromise from 15 to 12 on the side yard abutting the side street. And the side street is going to be defined as the longer of the 2 frontages. Comments from the commissioners?
I have none, and I'm not gonna have none all the way through because I'm just gonna wait until after the public comment. or in.
Good.
So Marty, you gonna do the same thing?
Yes, and yeah, let's just go. Yeah, that's good. No, I appreciate the information, Rick. That's great. And we'll go
Dave?
forward.
You gonna do the same thing? You're gonna wait?
I have a clarifying question for Rick, if I can.
Yep.
Hey,
Yep.
Rick, when you talk about the entrance of the home, are you talking about like the entrance of the home on the side street or the main street? I guess that was my question. If we do, and I like the idea of the compromise, by the way, I think it's a good step. My only question is, are we going to specify how you would actually, what would be the front of the house if we do that?
The front of the house would be defined as the smaller of the 2 yards on the corner lot. In other words, if your lot was 100 feet on King Charles and 50 feet on Cullen Street, it would be the Cullen Street that would be considered the front of the house.
Okay.
I think it would be difficult to get a permit for a driveway entrance off of King Charles if there was an alternative on a side street, but we could specify if we wanted to that driveway entrance to the home would be on the front. There's a house on, I think it's on Cullen Street, that has a corner lot back on Bayard, and it has 2 driveways, which they are allowed, one off of Bayard, one off of Cullen. And it's attractive, it works, but that is not something I addressed.
Would it be that I would just ask for maybe some consideration as we go through? Is that something we want to add to the code? Just to define the actual entrance for the homes when we make that change.
I think that's a good recommendation.
All right, Jimmy, are you going to defer until we get through to the public comment period, Jimmy? All right, let's see, I think I covered all the commissioners. So go ahead and move on there, Mr. Judge. Thank you.
Hey, Chris,
All right, we're moving on. Section 4, and this is the FAR section. It's been a recommendation from Remington, our town planner, our town manager, our town building official, and our commission in discussion that perhaps FAR is too confusing and it would be better to use a calculation based on square footage and making it the same in all residential districts. Not the same square footage, but the same calculations, meaning that everything under roof inside a property that has 6 foot or more headroom would be included in the calculation. Presently, garages are not included in the NR. They are included in the RR. If we include that, it makes it easier for the building official to enforce. This is the footprint. This is the wall to wall. This is how many square feet are in there. The reason we are going to be considering all of the inclusive is that once a home is built, whether it was a garage intention and becomes living space or bedrooms, or any other screen porch that becomes enclosed and becomes a room, it's all going to be calculated as part of the home. With that in mind, we can try to come up with a square footage. And among the commissioners, we have some different ideas on this. When Fred wanted to put the ordinance together for us, he recommended having hard numbers in there so that we had something to discuss from. Presently, we're allowed 5,000 square feet plus a garage. The garage is anywhere from 550 to 600 plus square feet. So basically, with the new calculations, a 5,600 square foot home could be built presently. We're recommending to cut that by about 20% to a 4,500 square foot home, all inclusive. This is larger than most of the new homes in the North End, but not exclusively larger. It is a home that's been built, maybe 15, 18 homes in the 42 to 4,600 square feet under these calculations. When they got their permit, they were getting permits for 2,900, 3,200 square foot homes because of the other items that were not included in the calculation of the FAR. So we wanted to make the normal lot the 50 by 100, or one that might be slightly larger, like there was that 6,500 square foot lot, capped out at 4,500, all inclusive. Were you to own multiple lots, presently you could build, as I said before, quite a large home. If we max out that the largest single family structure in the single-family residential district be 5,200 square feet and limit its bedrooms to 8, I think we have accomplished two things. We've capped what could be overbuilt in our area, and we've also capped a home that's built as a hotel or as a large occupancy rental. On the 4,500 square foot, we limited the bedrooms to 6, again, to accommodate a large family, but not to accommodate a oversized occupancy for a rental. And that is basically the whole essence of section 4. Is probably the most important section of the alternatives we are discussing. And I throw that back to the commissioners for comment.
I don't think we have any rec, unless we hear any, because we said we're gonna just wait for public comment.
All right, we're moving along very, very quickly, but let's see how it ends up. Anyway, chapter or section 5, this is the tiered setbacks. First of all, the language in table 2 is a little ambiguous, and there are misinterpretations, but our town planner, Chris Fazio Remington, on tiered setbacks, they said recommendation, considering Dewey Beach's height limitations and setback standards, tiered setbacks do not appear necessary. RVE Remington recommends eliminating tiered setbacks. If the town has experienced setback and encroachment issues, consideration should be given to amending setback requirements. And I accepted that. We accepted that as a good suggestion, and therefore we recommended eliminating tiered setbacks. Comments?
Nope.
Moving on. Section 7, the issue of basements. Well, our task was, in my understanding, to study the aesthetics of street, curbside, appeal or unappeal for large structures and how to maintain a character in our residential districts. Basements are subgrade. They're never seen from the street. They don't have anything to do with what a person would view looking at a home, whether it be a 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 square foot home. DENREC has the controlling authority as to giving approval for basements, which very few properties actually have the ability to have. And therefore, if a person has a basement and they have a limitation on numbers of bedrooms, what difference does it make what they use their basement for? Is basically why we're saying leave it up to the Department of Natural Resources, and if you can have a basement, it's yours to use. It won't be part of the calculation because it's subgrade and not something one sees from the streets.
So I did have just one question, and just on that one is that the basement would be would not exceed or would not be above ground in any way, right, Rick? In our analysis there, in our standard.
It's a below grade, below first level living, absolutely.
Yep. Okay.
And because it's mostly floodplain sensitive, which you have a requirement for living space, it's probably uninhabitable anyway. Okay. Did you lose me?
Nope.
Good. Every time I hear silence, I get nervous. Section 8, this one is the probably the least important of all of our recommendations, and has received some of the strongest feedback. Dave Lyons and I were discussing different things and trying to save trees and make landscaping and beautification part of our single family neighborhood, and thought the concept of, since you're required to put 50% of your 15% landscaping in the front yard, to make it a little bit more definitive, and having a separation from roadway to front yard, making the house a little more private, more attractive, and an item that might catch on, and other people who are not required to do this because it's not new construction might join in. But if people don't want to be told where to plant, how to plant, and we enforce the requirement of the landscaping that as exists, I'm fine with giving up this terrific notion.
I will say I do agree with Rick, and we did talk a lot about it. And the intent was merely just to kind of ensure that we had some green in front of our houses, just so we could preserve some of the feel of the north end, right? With some of the trees and the green and grass.
Well,
So
if you
that's
look-
exactly what we were trying to do.
If you look at some of our streets with newer homes, it's a paved road, it's a stone driveway, it's a stone parking place, and it's a stone front yard. And if you had a little hedge, if you had planters, you had some sort of break between the street and the home, we think it would be very attractive. If people don't want to be told how to make their house attractive, that's fine. This is not something that's that important. We thought it was a step in the right direction for landscaping with the requirements that were already in the code.
All right, so we're down at the bottom, right, Rick? Is that where you're at?
That's the end of our recommendations.
All right, so Fred, we're gonna heed your advice and we're gonna go right into the public hearing, and then we'll go from there. Is that all right with you, Fred?
That's fine. Yes, please do. Mhm.
All right, well, Ashley, at this point, we're at the public hearing. So the first thing I'd like to do is to see if the town, Jim Deeds, or any of the commissioners want to speak, or if you want to wait. I'm not sure how we should do this. So it's hard, without being face to face. Anybody want to?
Mike, can I make a small comment that if the people from that want to offer their suggestions or concerns would identify themselves and their property, please?
Yeah, when they come up, definitely.
Right.
Let's do that. Now, David Lyons, you've got a spreadsheet of all the people, all the emails and everything that came through. And I think we need to speak to those before we start talking to the public. And then I recommended in an email to you, Dave Lyons, to see if there's a possibility to get that in the meeting minutes to Marty. So is there any way, Dave, I'm hoping we're allowed to do this. Can you share your screen with your spreadsheet with all your tabulations and just quickly acknowledge that it's there and maybe put that onto the meeting minutes, but in general, give us an assessment of for and against or whatever, so that people can be, they know that we've heard them and that, we got all this email flurry this week. So.
Yeah, just give me just a second, and it's basically the tally, and I'll show you how I.
So we're officially in the public hearing, Fred, and we're going to, say these folks were first because they emailed us. So we're going to recognize, them somehow here, and then move on and letting people in from the lobby or wherever Ashley has them waiting. Does that work for you?
That does. I mean, also the process that Mr. Lyons is going to go through will also indicate what's been made part of the record to date. So those people who are wondering whether their correspondence has been received will know that we have heard from them and their comments are in the permanent record.
Excellent. All right. It's hard to do this all virtual thing. We're all trying to figure it out. So I don't want anybody to be disenchanted like we're not listening to them. So once David gets that pulled up, he'll give it another shot at sharing like he did the first spreadsheet he had.
Yeah, so let me get so I have all the comments. I'm going to start with the comments.
But we're not going to read each one verbatim.
Oh, no. I'm just going to show, what I'm going to do is just quickly scan through so everybody knows that we've captured at least a high level.
Right.
And then I do have the high level counts that I sent you, Rick.
Perfect.
So let me just do this piece first. Okay, so I'll do this. Just share again.
While you're sharing, I will say that there was a lot of folks that thought we were doing the exact opposite of what we are doing. At least that's my opinion on what I read. It almost seemed like, some folks thought we were like going to make it so people could make it, and we're definitely not doing that. And then a lot of people said, what Dave's going to report is that some were like, we're headed in the right direction, but it's not enough. That we should go smaller. But so Dave's going to report out here.
Yep. So let me start by, can you see my screen? You see it's like a Word document? Okay.
Yep.
So what I did is for each of the sections, I went through and just tallied. And I will tell you, this is not an exact science because there are a lot of folks that said, we agree to this or we don't agree. We agree to section 1, but not 2. Or they had some very broad general comments that said, I agree in general. So if you take a look at these numbers, I would say, you really need to read the distinct comments, and I'll bring those up in a minute. But you can kind of see there's roughly, between each of them, about a third to half on each of the different areas that either agreed or did not agree. So for the example, I'll just take the first one, number of stories to 3 and no roof decks. 8 people agreed that we would go to 3 stories and 17 disagreed. Okay, that's basically it. And Rick, I don't know, I can scroll down these. I don't think you want me to read all of them to everyone, but
No, I think a lot of this is misunderstanding, and perhaps with this public hearing and hopefully another one, people understand what the changes are and why. And if everyone wants to leave a status quo, that's fine. We've done our job. But doing our job, I think we have researched and found that the recommendations are for the betterment of protecting the character of our single family and regular residential districts.
And so one other comment, I watched Rick, or saw a lot of correspondence, and Rick spent a lot of time explaining, and I think that Rick is exactly right. There are a lot of questions and I don't use the word confusion, but misunderstanding about what is it that we are proposing to do. So there were 31 comments, and that was as of about 3 o'clock. I guess there were about 4 or 5 more received after that I have yet to include in this. But so you can see there are from all a number of different people. I've tried to put their name, the address, date, and cut and pasted everyone's comments that we went through. And so you can see it's 26 pages, so I won't put it through, but I will show you that there were 31 comments. We've all read them and we summarized them so that we would know. There was a group of folks that signed a very consistent email that basically addressed each of the different sections and how they felt about that, each of those sections, and they were kind of consistent. They basically came together with one letter, one email that basically talks about the stories, the corner lots, the basements, roof decks, roof pitch. And there's just one, but you can see that they all similarly followed that. Okay. I just want to go through. We have all of them. Some folks wrote additional. So everyone was read and considered in this process. And I do have about 3 or 4 more to add that Jim received late in the day.
Thank you, Dave.
Anything else there, Mike?
I don't know. You had a spreadsheet that had all the details on that. Just you want to flash it up? Is that appropriate?
Yeah, I can put that back.
Just like sort of, I don't know if we can summarize.
So this one, this is where I started. But if you take a look at section 1, and I think, section 1 deals with 3 stories. So if I were to summarize what I read, I would say 8 people agreed with moving to 3 stories and 17 responses disagree. Now I'll tell you, when you add these up, this is 25 and we got 31 responses. So it's not an exact 1 per 1. Some people just say a general comment in terms of what's there.
So I'm thinking you had a spreadsheet that had the person who wrote and their street address. That's what I was looking for.
I have just a comment. I have this one, which was, you mean yes, no?
Yeah, the yes, no, I think.
So I did have yes, no, but it was originally just the square footage. And then as we went through with all the different sections, I didn't think that was a fair representation of each one. I can go back and do that if you'd like. We can break out each section.
Well, but is it comprehensive up to 3 o'clock?
Yes.
It's a spreadsheet, right?
Yeah, the spreadsheet, the one I have as of 3 o'clock is this, which basically is a summation of agrees and disagrees with each of the recommendations we made so far.
Okay, Fred, is that enough for addressing by summarizing, or do we need to go through and show anything else?
Well, I don't know that we need to do it at this point, but sometime before we close the public hearing, we want to indicate that we've received letters and those letters have been made, or we've received correspondence of some sort and they've been made part of the record. So when we invite people to speak, I'm sure that they're going to say that they gave, they submitted comments. So we can acknowledge that their comments, their written comments will be made part of the record. And then if we can determine that we've received other comments from people who haven't spoken, we should make an effort to acknowledge that.
So when you say part of the record, where should those emails, like, should somebody in town hall print them or something? And
Well, they're being circulated, right, to the commissioners,
yeah, all of them were, yes.
right? So that means they're being considered by the commissioners, and that's what we just want to formally acknowledge, that all the members are seeing all the correspondence.
And that's true. That's my
Mhm.
understanding. I don't
Yeah.
think we missed any, but, we set up a system where they were all sent out. Correct, David? Are you?
Yeah, so Fred, I just want to make sure what you're looking at. So they were all distributed to me, and then basically I summarized them, and a lot of them had all the commissioners copied on them.
Yeah.
So all I've done is I've summarized them into one worksheet by name and address, and basically copied all of the information that was in the email. I have all the actual emails. We could certainly print and scan them as well. But this was just a way of summarizing and capturing all the information. So we do have it.
Do you have the summary of all the addresses and people's names somewhere easily that could be shown on the share screen?
But I do not have.
Okay. All right, so let's move on to the public hearing. And we'll actually let people in that want to talk, and then we can just start the discussion. Anybody have any suggestions otherwise? Or, all right, what you got, Ashley? You sending somebody in?
Looks like, I believe that's Dave Thomas that's listed under Bonnie. I let him in initially because I wasn't sure if that was a member's name. So I'll see if he has anything.
Yeah, we do Dave
would like to
Thomas.
say.
He's 316 Surf Club. Is that correct, Dave Thomas?
Yeah, hi. Hello, everybody. I thought I was going to go first because my interest is really with the issue of adopting a building maintenance code.
Okay, you might be disappointed, Dave, because we might not talk much about that today. So if you don't have any comments on the zoning code, you can.
Should I give my 3 minutes now then, or what?
We gotta wait because we're not in the public hearing on that. Sorry about that. We
What?
put the deck on you.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear what you just said.
Yeah, we shuffled the deck on you. We put the property maintenance as second. We thought that the
You
far stuff was.
switched it, but there's still going to be an opportunity to be heard.
Absolutely.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, we
Mhm.
definitely have to do it. We posted it. So.
Okay.
All right.
And no, I'm not on this issue
Mhm.
of the zoning.
So I see a little thing, Ashley. It says David Lyons is the host now, but I'm not sure how that works. But Ashley, if you're there, please let the next person in. Dave, I guess we'll put you back in the lobby or waiting room. So Ashley, if you can
Well, this
put-
is the way I can see it because I can't do YouTube and Zoom at the same
Yeah.
time, right?
Absolutely. We'll keep you in Zoom. They put you in a lobby where you were a minute ago.
Great. Okay. Yeah.
Let me see if Ashley's here and can do that. Let's see. Let's see what happened to Ashley. I think Ashley might have, we might have lost Ashley.
Yeah, guys, this is Jasinski chiming in. Dave Lyons, if you're in control of the meeting, you can admit people from the waiting room because you're temporary host unless that come back. I'm just kind of letting you know technically that if you know how to do that, you might be able to.
All right, you're up, Dave Lyons, if you can figure it out. If you see anybody in the waiting room, David, let the next person through, or everybody through, for that matter. We can just get. Where are we? Let me see what we have here. There you are. So Dave,
Can you, so I let in Jay McLaughlin. Are you able to hear us?
I don't know, they're doing something here. Rick's iPad collapsed. Well, somebody's letting somebody in. I'm not sure how they're doing it.
we have you on, yeah, hey, Jim, we have you on, you gotta turn your microphone off, Jim.
Okay, Ashley just let me know she's having technical issues on her end as the host.
Oh.
So she's frozen out, her system froze. So that's why you're not getting any additional contact right now.
Okay. Let me try another. Daryl O'Connor. Daryl, are you able to hear us? Here he's connecting.
Dave, you may not be able to do it because you're not the host.
Well, he appears to be able to do it.
Yeah,
How's he doing? Well, how's he doing?
it's come up
Okay.
on my right-hand side that I can admit them.
Hmm.
Daryl, can you hear us?
Hey, Dave, just from a technical point of view, people generally get joined on mute. So you have to kind of speak up and tell them to unmute Zoom
Shut up.
when they get admitted into the meeting.
Let's see.
Daryl's showing is not, he's unmuted. But we're not getting any voice from him. So I guess David Lyons, if Daryl's unavailable, let's go to the next person,
All right.
if you can. I know we're
Yeah.
asking a lot of you, sorry.
Carol? Carol, can you hear us?
There's sometime a delay on YouTube of like a minute, so they could be watching on YouTube and then have to realize they need to log into
Let
Zoom.
somebody in, but no one's really coming in.
All right,
Dave,
Yeah. Carol?
Carol, there seems like I see a Carol. Carol, we can see you. I don't know if we can hear you.
I don't
Carol,
know.
can you hear us?
I don't know how they're getting in.
Oh, you're muted, Carol. Your microphone.
Yeah, you're muted.
The pictures are on, but they can't speak. They're not
Wait.
connected.
It seems like I see a
Can you
Carol.
hear me?
Yes, I can unmute her. There you are, Carol. Can you hear us?
Sure can. All right, so I was watching on YouTube. Thank you all very much for all of the time and effort that you've put into this.
You're muted, Carol. Your microphone. Yeah, you're muted.
No, she's on.
Can you hear me, Dave? Anybody?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? I can hear you.
There you are, Carol. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Okay, so thank you all for the time and effort that you've put into all of this. It's so important that we get it figured out. I just have a few quick questions.
Carol, could you start by identifying yourself? And everyone may know who you are, but just for the record, if you would identify yourself and give us an address.
Carol Seibel. We live on Jersey Street in the second block. And we've been homeowners here since 2007. So we are right across the street from that first little Dewey Beach cottage that you showed on Jersey Street. And we love where we live and how we live. And we're very fortunate that the houses that surround us on all three sides are not in the process of being torn down and rebuilt. So we have a modicum of privacy at this point. So I guess my questions are, in looking at your recommendations from the company who came in and did this, and I think Dave Lyons put this up in the beginning. You showed Rehoboth, and it looked like they were literally about half of the square footage with the far size. Is that right? Of where we want to be? Because I'm just wondering, I mean, I just feel like we could be smaller. I know you showed those pictures and I thought that was great because it gives you an idea, but I thought it could have been better if we would have been able to see those houses a little further out in relations to the ones around them. I will tell you that one on the backside of Carolina and Bayard, the 2.5-story one, caused us to have to rebuild our whole outside shower. So, we've lost some privacy and they're not even our neighbor. And then the only other issue I just want to throw out there, I know you were talking about the landscaping as the last piece. We are one of those last pine barrens on the coast. And I am worried. I see these big trees coming down to put these houses in. And I just am worried about all of that. I just wonder if there isn't some other way to do it. I did send an email to Mr. Dees and said maybe instead of square footage and lot size, it's more of a percentage of whatever lot size you have that you can build on. So I just want to, I don't like to complain. I just like to listen and then throw out suggestions here and there. But again, I thank you all for all of the time and effort you're putting in. And that's the end of my rant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
You're welcome.
They,
Let me see if we can do this.
go ahead, Dave, you're,
I'm gonna try and, so is John Caruso? I think I've unmuted you. John? Can you hear us, John?
yeah, John, if you can, you're on mute.
Yeah, I can hear it, but I'm off the speak. I got to figure out how to get back on. I can hear him.
We can hear you, Jim.
Okay. Jesus.
Jim, your mic's on.
Yeah, we can hear and see you just fine, Jim.
So I muted. So
All right, so Dave's trying to get,
trying to get more
John-
folks in and
John
get them.
Caruso in, yeah.
Let me try this.
Looks like it might be.
Are you connected there? I'll put Carol in. I'm still trying to connect there. Let me try Anna Legates. Very slow to connect. Anna, are you there? Don't have much luck.
David Jasinski, do you know whether we can let everyone in and just recognize them one at a time?
Isn't it mid all?
There's no problem with having multiple people on it. The only challenge you're going to have is you may have to like try to mute people and unmute people who don't know how to do it. I think what's happening is we're getting a lot of participants who haven't used Zoom before, so their computer may not have everything on it to do it. But David, just kind of watch the microphone case, and there is a way for you to mute and unmute people.
Right. So
Ashley just said she's in the waiting room waiting for you to let her in.
yeah, she's in.
Oh, there she is.
Ashley, can you unmute yourself? I admitted everyone.
Yeah, the connecting part is the person has to accept it on their end as well. So it looked like some of the ones you omitted accepted it.
Okay. See if I've got one here.
Hey.
Let's see.
There's Ashley.
Jill?
Yes.
All right.
Hi. I'm Jill Campello. I live at 123 Chicago Street. And first of all, I want to thank you all for your efforts. And if you haven't seen Tom Carper's video today of him getting on the hearings, everyone must watch it. Anyway, I just wanted to say that in 2018 and 2019, the P&Z committee recommended that the corner lot setbacks be changed to 8 feet from 15 feet. And I wrote a letter that came after 5 o'clock today to explain about how I feel that decision, which I think was the commissioners asked that there be further research to decide whether or not why it shouldn't be 8 feet. And I haven't seen anything to suggest that there's a reason why it should not be 8 feet. And as someone who has a cottage and doesn't plan on building a house, but wants to maintain the cottage, I did do an addition to my house, which was severely impacted by the fact that I had to maintain that 15-foot setback. I couldn't build the cottage out to meet the existing sight line of the house because the cottages were built prior to these setbacks being established. And so I'm all for keeping the housing, I think it's a good idea to have it uniform and limiting it to 4,500 and, all the other things that you guys have suggested, but I'm not sure why the recommendation was changed from 8 feet in 2018 and 2019 to 12 feet now. And in Rehoboth, it's 10 feet, but I don't think that any homeowners have been negatively impacted by existing cottages on corners. And I don't see how changing them to 8 feet would negatively do that. And that's,
Ms. Campello,
Yes.
if I could just jump in. This group has not made a recommendation yet with regard to whether that setback should be 8 or 12. So you've expressed an opinion, and I just want you to know that that decision has not been made, and your opinion counts, and those of others as well. So.
I appreciate that. Well, in everything that I read, it seemed like the suggestion was being made, and the ordinance was written to be 12 feet currently.
You're right, but those all the values that are in there are up for consideration, including the 8.
Well,
12.
I just wanted to, invite anybody who wants to look at what I had to do to, be in compliance with the 15-foot setback when my house is out further than that. It's an example of really it wouldn't have made any difference at all aesthetically, and it would probably have been an architectural improvement to extend my house addition out to the existing house. So thank you. Thanks for letting me know that too.
That's fine. Jill, what was your address again, please?
123 Chicago.
Okay. Thank you.
On the corner.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
I'm gonna Marcia, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yep.
we can.
Perfect. No echo this time. Thank you so much. I wrote you quite an extensive letter, and I read through all the ordinances. Also a corner lot owner, 101 Carolina, empty lot, no house on the lot. I live at 103 right next door. And in contemplating building on that lot, my biggest challenge has been the 27-foot wide house would force me to go up to a full 3/4. And I own several parcels in Dewey Beach, none of which I have built beyond the original cottages that I've renovated. So it's very restrictive for me. But I think what is more important when you look at this is you look at the work you've all done for the past year of a committee that was put together to compile research, look at standards, evaluate standards, and develop new standards that are reasonable and logical. And the one thing I want to say about that is I give you all a lot of credibility in terms of how that was done methodically and over the course of a year, a lot of hard work. So I don't really like the tally kind of voting. I think it's great to summarize 25 people wrote in, but a tally vote over the construct of a committee that was put together like this doesn't hold much weight with me, and I don't think it should unless you're going to survey the whole North End of those of us that live there. So my argument, of course, for honestly 8-foot setbacks for corner lots is that I've been part of these discussions for the past year and a half as they've been discussed. And the only two arguments I've really heard against them is there would be a cavernous effect on King Charles and Baird, or we would be allowed to build bigger houses. Well, that cavernous effect is not supported by logic and data. And I think when you go down King Charles, you can look at the foliage that's there already rises 20 to 25 feet above the street, all the way down the street. So if somebody would take and reposition a drawing of a house behind that, it's a 41-foot setback till I can build it 8 feet. From the edge of the road, it's 13 feet on the walkable service, the bikeway and walkway. And then there is an additional 20-foot setback until I would be able to build it 8 feet. So from the road to my 8-foot setback, if you gave us 8 foot, is 41-foot setback. So a cavernous effect just is not a logical argument. And I told you I put posts out to show you where my house would be built, and you can look at the sight lines, and you're welcome to come by and look at. I marked them out with rope and post. The only other argument, so I would absolutely argue for the logic of we should just be 8 feet like everyone else, because if there are two arguments given, which I have heard, and neither of them are sensible or logical or driven by data, then, you know, we really have to give consideration to that. The other one was that the house would be bigger than anyone else could build, and that's simply not true. We have to follow the same FAR, the same square footage. So when you weigh this, you know, I would love, if you do the 12, 12, 12, great, but we've had discussion on this for so long. Let's just keep discussing and look at data and facts and get some of this data together before the next meeting. At a minimum, I would say, even if those arguments carried weight, which I don't believe they do, at a minimum, you could give corner lot owners the first floor at 8, because if either of those arguments carried weight, there would be no objection because it's a first floor with a ceiling of 8 to 10 feet. So there would be no cavernous effect, there would be no bigger house, and then go back to 12, 12 on the second and third floor. I don't think it's unreasonable or illogical to give corner lot owners their 8 feet when you have a 41-foot setback from the road to the 8 feet. So I just hope you give some more consideration to that and look at some of these lots that have these issues and look at if I built my house right now to 34 feet on that lot, you probably wouldn't even see the roof from the foliage that's already grown up 20 feet closer to the street. I think the proposals for everything else, yeah, that's it. So you're.
Go ahead and explain this, Marcia. This is Mike Harmer. I just pulled this up from your.
Thank you, Mike. So I just want people to really understand that I think there's a lot of misinformation out there. So the 13-foot is from the edge of the road to the walkway. That bamboo I shot with a measurement, it's 24 feet high. And so from the edge of the walkway, the town or the state owns that additional 20 feet.
Right here.
So now you're to 33 feet. And then if you gave us an 8-foot setback like everyone else, it's a 41-foot setback from the road. That it is impossible to create a cavernous effect. And this is King Charles. So most of the street is already covered with 25-foot high foliage. And, you know, I just hope that people pay attention that that argument, which is the biggest argument, just isn't supported by data. And you can see 22 feet high, the foliage, and it's all the way down King Charles. So I'd really like, while we're contemplating this, you know, I think a lot of weight should be given to your committee and your work and not tallies. And it should be given to logic and reason and data. And I think it's a sort of a fear argument that, you know, somehow we're going to build these houses that obstruct the street, but our foliage already does that. And I'm 41 feet back to build. So I just encourage you to, you know, come by and look at my lot and look at what I put out. And, you know, as you may or may not know, I own many parcels in the North End. And all of which I have preserved and renovated at 1 story, but I cannot do that on this lot. And other property owners can't do it. And it doesn't mean that just because something's, I wrote in my letter, just because it's codified doesn't mean it makes sense, and doesn't mean it makes sense for your community, given your community's standards. And I really think you have to look at the data on this one. And it doesn't also make sense that it was codified in the 80s or whenever it was. We're up here. I have a good investment in the North End. I want to see it preserved, but this makes no sense. So I thank you. I hope we can continue looking at this, and I welcome any of you to reach out to me. I know all the corner houses up here, and I think when you really stand in front of them and see, you'll understand.
Thank you, Marcia. I appreciate that. We'll take that into consideration, and appreciate the letter you wrote, and it's noted in the public record. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Ashley, I know you're going to let some more people in, so however you want to do it. I need to unmute yourself.
Jay and Vera Marowitz, looks like.
All right.
Okay, just Jay is here today. Number one, let me give an attaboy to Marcia. I think she stated the case for the 8-foot corner lot setback. I could not, when I first read this, I couldn't figure out what functionality you were trying to attribute to 8 versus 12. I couldn't see anything, and nothing made sense. And I think Marcia, with her diagrams, did a wonderful job in explaining it. I mean, when you come up with a number like that, 8 versus 12, you need to add a sentence that says, because this is what it does. And I didn't hear that, or didn't read that. And so I was perplexed about that. That's all I have to say on that one. Your 4,500 square feet number and the other one for greater than 7,500. You have a distribution of lot sizes in the town, and I don't know what that is. And it seems to me that when you come up with a single number that applies to all your lots, and I might be totally wrong. Maybe I know all the lots aren't the same size, but there may be some really small ones that a 4,500 square foot living space is absurd. I don't know. All I'm saying is take a look at that. Maybe you need another tier. The ratio, I'm sorry, what is it? FOV? Was that FOR or?
FAR.
Huh?
AR.
FAR, sorry. The FAR ratio I thought was a step in that direction because it scaled things according to the size of the lot. All I'm saying is that I can't, there's going to be, you're going to spend, the way life is, you spend 80% of your time on 20% of the problems. Well, you're going to find 20% of the lots are below the 150 or the 50 by 100 rather, and they're going to have problems with when you have a blanket number that applies to that size, yet you have these smaller sizes. I'm not sure, I don't have all the data, so that's something I just hope you look at. Let's see. Okay, the original, when I first started looking at your proposals and everything, one thing that was missing, but you did correct that here, is basically you said, hey, we're limiting the size, we're not increasing the size, the general size of what's being built. I think that's in the right direction. I think you can get a lot of abuses. And I think what you're working on, and I appreciate this fuzzy problem you're working on, believe me. I think you're trying to take steps in clarifying it for everybody. And all I'm saying is keep explaining it in sort of general terms, and then you can get down to the specifics and say everything goes back to our original intent. Most of my other questions were already answered or commented upon, so I'll yield the floor, and thank you for the work you're doing.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your input. And Ashley's going to let the next person in, and we'll keep trying to do a good job and do a thorough job. And most importantly, we want to be transparent. And that's what I think we're doing a decent job so far. So we're not going to rush it, but we really appreciate your input. Ashley, what you got for the next person?
Looks like there's a Kim Priver.
All right.
You've got Brian Prevor here.
Right.
Kim is next to me, and in typical Dewey fashion, I'm actually sitting on the beach, so I apologize for wind, which I'm trying to screen.
All right.
We are homeowners on the corner of Houston and Baird, 123 Houston. So we are in NR. The first question, I have a question, which might be a concern, is the provision that would limit roof decks. I understand wanting to limit roof decks, but I wanted to know, does that extend to an open deck that is off of the second floor as opposed to one that is sitting on top of the third floor that would exceed the 35-foot ceiling height?
See if Rick's still with us. Rick, you need your microphone, under your microphone if you want to answer that question. There you go.
Okay, and I was going to point out that the roof decks are a roof deck on top of the house. Any open deck below part of the house, second floor, first floor, is encouraged and is an open deck. Roof decks are on top of the roof.
Okay, so I guess to be more particular, if I had a walkout from the third floor that walks straight out as opposed to going up, that would be permissible?
I believe so.
Okay, so it really is, what it prohibits is putting it on top of the top floor.
Yes.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
Then the only other comment I have is that I just wonder, for large lots, of which I am not one, but I am constantly, I'm invested in the community, and I look around at property all the time. And I wonder about the larger lots, those that are bigger than 50 by 100, this sort of the standard footing, and whether this proposal is really upsetting settled expectations for people that own larger lots. Somebody who has a 75 by 100 foot, or even a double size lot, would be discouraged or prohibited altogether from building a larger home that would have otherwise been accommodated under the current zoning. And I stated as an observation that, someone, for instance, that owns a double wide lot, they would be effectively required, if they wanted to build to the maximum, to just simply subdivide the lot. I don't know what the town's position is on subdivision of lots, but really, when you're capping the maximum FAR, or the maximum square footage of a home, you might as well just never exceed a 50 by 100 lot with what's being proposed by the town, because you could do better if you had 100 by 100 by just subdividing it in half and putting up two houses. So it's an observation, not a criticism or a complaint, but just something I think should be considered, because there are a few of those significantly larger lots that would be impacted by this.
All right, Rick.
And thank you for your time, because I do appreciate the opportunity.
All right, thank you. And Rick will respond to that, I think, quickly.
Yeah, we took that under consideration, and if you have a lot and a half or larger, we allowed a larger square footage, the 4,500 for the normal lot, and larger than that lot and a half plus 5,200 square foot. If you wanted on your 250 by 100 lots to build 2 single-family homes, you're very welcome to do that. We didn't want an oversized, large, say a 10,000, 15,000 square foot. It would be out of character, out of place in our single-family neighborhood. So we are encouraging single-family homes. If you want to build a larger one and you have the square footage to do that, you then can build up to a 5,200.
All right, thank you, Rick. We're ready for the next person, Ashley.
You're welcome.
Can't hear you, Ashley, but go ahead. Are we getting Anna Gates possibly, or who are we getting?
I'm bringing in, looks like John Caruso.
All right.
It looks like Anna Gates, and then there's one more that just says EIE Environments. We're still trying to connect.
All right, so John, you're up if we can hear you, if we see you. I think I remember your name in one of the emails too, John. So glad that you're able to dial in. Appreciate it. If we can get you. If we can't, John, oh, John, you're muted.
Yeah, you need to unmute.
Yeah. So I don't know what happened to John's picture here. John, John Caruso, you're muted. So
Bring in Dave Wellborn in the meantime.
all right. There you go. All right, Dave, unmute yourself and I think we'll have you.
Okay, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep. You can give us your street address and your name. I think we know your name's Dave Wellborn, so street address.
This is Dave Wellborn. I live at 115 Carolina since 1997. I didn't realize that for the corner lots that it was actually just 33 feet from the road. So it seems to me that the 8-foot setback is reasonable.
Thank you, Dave. I felt the same way when we were talking about it 2 years ago. I still feel the same way, but we came up with the 12 feet, just trying to compromise a little bit. But we're not trying to build big houses, as you can tell. We're trying to limit the square footage. So thank you for your input on that. Anything else you want to share?
Yes. Also, the roof deck comment, I didn't realize that decks that are on the second floor don't apply to that restriction. And if that's the case, then I think there should be some limits on the size of the roof deck, because I do agree that the roof decks contribute to noise in the town, and I think cutting those back would be a benefit.
We're going to eliminate them.
What I understood was the roof deck on the third floor is eliminated, but a deck on a second floor is acceptable.
That's correct.
So what I'm saying is a deck on a second floor should have some restrictions on size.
Okay, thank you.
And then the other comment I have, it's unclear to me what the change to the landscaping requirements are. And so I know it's very difficult to come up with something concrete, but it does seem that there should be some restrictions on cutting down trees.
Yeah, there probably is some restrictions on the trees, but that planting 15% and all, I'm not going to support that. I mean, it's sort of crept into the equation. So it doesn't mean that it's not going to get voted on, but it's there. I'm going to try to not have it there, but whatever. We'll have to see what the other commissioners think by the time we get done with this ordinance. I don't know if we'll cross the ordinance, across the finish line today, but yeah, that was just some suggested changes along the way during the process. So that's why that got inserted.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all I have.
You're welcome. All right, Anna, I think we're ready for the next person. Or not Anna, Ashley, we're ready for the next person. I was looking at Anna's name.
Looks like there's someone here. I don't have a name. There's just have an icon of a J, and then it shows the letter N as the name.
Well, we'll give JN a chance here. So All right, so JN, announce your name and your street address. You know, log in. I'm sorry.
There's a T. Arnold I can bring in.
All right. It's off to Miss T. Arnold.
Apparently has the mute button on, as far as I can see. That's for the J person.
Yeah, John Caruso is still on mute. And then we got T. Arnold that's not on mute. T. Arnold, you there?
I am here.
Awesome.
Hi, my name is Tim Arnold, and I live at 207 Jersey, the second beach block on Jersey. I've been there. This is my 22nd summer in Dewey.
Excellent.
My concern is with the with the 3-story aspect. As I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, the rear setback is currently 12 feet. Is that correct?
Yes.
And as we all know, I guess there's a certain amount we're allowed for freeboard throughout most of the neighborhood. I think there's a certain, I'm not sure the exact number, but there is a freeboard. I think it varies, doesn't it, from block to block? But usually it's a couple of feet to 3 or 4 feet that you're allowed to set your first floor level due to flood regulations. You can remove that from the floor to floor height. And as we all know, with the new homes, the modern homes, people want and expect a higher floor to floor. So when you get 3 stories, it's really easy to have a structure that's 35, 36 feet high. And that means you end up with a situation where a 3-story house is 3 times as wide as the width of the backyard. And I think that's something really to consider, because has a real effect on the overall character of the neighborhood. I guess in some ways the 3 stories is a concern, but also the rear setback is a concern, because oftentimes when you have houses of this scale, suddenly there's a shift and a focus entirely on interior square footage, and you end up with a situation where there really aren't true gardens or yards in the front or back. The front is taken up with parking. The sides are kind of just service alleys. And in fact, at 12 feet, if the structure of the house is 35 feet high, it also becomes kind of a service space as well, and not truly an occupiable, usable, not really a space that's that functions well as a backyard. So that's my main concern. I realize that people have, own the property, and oftentimes their homes are much bigger now than they were when Rehoboth by the Sea began to be developed in the 60s. But I think there's a real concern with going to 3 stories. It's unusual, I think, in most residential communities to allow a full 3-story construction. And I think that the commission should really consider maintaining the setbacks and the partial 3rd floor. Those are my thoughts. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much. Ashley, got someone else?
Looks like everyone we have is here now. It's Angela Gates, John Caruso, and then the one with the letter N. I'll try to bring John Caruso in again.
All right, so if he can't get in this time, he's out, and so is JN. If you can't get him in one more time, and then Anna, I think we did get your letter, Anna. So let's give it a shot. This is the last shot, and then we're gonna close it down. So JN, you got about 10 seconds. You can count, Ashley, whenever you feel like cutting them off.
I clicked the ask to unmute a few times.
Yeah, so JN, sorry about that. We're probably gonna have another meeting. If you want to write us a letter or whatever, that'd be great. All right, let's move on, Ashley.
And that looks like everyone.
All right, well, if that's everybody, now we're discussion amongst the commissioners. Where I'm at is, actually, I'll start because I'm chair, I guess. So I still am an 8-foot corner lot setback guy. I'm not gonna change my position from 2018 or whenever we were meeting on it. We put 12. I'll vote yes for 12 if it stays 12. I don't feel strongly about any of it. The only thing I feel strongly about is I think the message has been heard that we want to make sure we can't build the bigger houses. So I think that the folks on the corner lot, we've proven that there's plenty of room safety wise and all that. And so that argument, I don't buy into that. I'm not gonna, fight over it or anything, but I'll just say, if somebody else wants to go 8, and you say 8, I'll support it, but I'll support 12 too. And that's really the only change. And I'd also like to eliminate section 8 as far as the planting. I don't think it belongs in this discussion. But I don't feel strongly about that either. So I'll just stop right there. I don't, if we can just do some quick comments from the commissioners, just say whether you're okay with waiting till a next meeting in September to give more time and more adjustment time and come up, maybe massage the ordinance a little bit. That's my preference, but I'm also ready to vote today too. So right now, I'll just, you've got where I'm at. I think all the rest of the ordinance is fine. I don't really like basements either, but I'm not gonna argue with it. That's gonna be the town's problem to make sure people don't put 10 rooms or 5 rooms in the basement. I just hope that people aren't trying to do that. But I would, my summary is, I'd prefer to see an 8-foot, but if we don't come up with an 8-foot back in September, I'll vote on the 12. I'll support either. And the planting, I would like the planting to be eliminated because I don't think it belongs there. And that's the end of my conversation on it. Marty, you're next.
Yeah, okay, well, good, thank you. I guess, I was certainly taken by Marcia Scheck's description of the setback on St. Charles Street. I would ask if the way our ordinance is written or our suggestions are written, does that apply? That applies to Bayard Avenue and other streets too in the North District. And I guess my question is, what impact is there? I mean, do we have the 41 feet there? I don't think so. And I would be cautious about applying an 8-foot that looks reasonable on St. Charles Street to Bayard Avenue, for example, because I don't know what would happen there. That's my concern about getting less than 12 feet. I think 12 feet is safe, but 8 feet on St. Charles seems to be appropriate. But I don't know about everywhere in the north section. Okay. I agree with what you say about foliage and so forth. I mean, that's so dynamic in terms of when people trim bushes and they don't trim bushes and so forth, that it's just hard to, we're not going to be imposing that people trim bushes twice a year or anything like that. So I would feel good about just dropping that as best we can. That's about my initial comments here. I do appreciate everybody's input. It's very interesting and useful. I've learned a lot from the public comments.
All right, Marty, thank you. So Rick Judge, would you volunteer to look street by street on the corners and come up with maybe saying a couple streets are warranted for an 8-foot because of, the diagram like Marcia drew up, and in the ordinance say this street gets this and this street gets that. I don't know if that's crazy, Fred, but I don't know. Fred's like, oh, no.
Yeah, that's crazy.
All right. So maybe, well, I'll tell you what, we'll take the comments that Marty said and that I said under consideration, and maybe we come back with something like a 10-foot or something. But
that was my next comment. Why don't we compromise to a 10-foot?
Yeah. All right. I'm up for 10. So maybe we'll go with that. That's what we might see in September. So Jimmy, you're up.
I believe that the square footage is way better and easier than trying to do a FAR again. I like the 3-story instead of a 2.5, just for the fact that it's enforceable, it's easy, it's clear, nobody's confused. The rooftop deck, I would agree with there shouldn't be a rooftop deck on a third story of a house or even a second story of a house. What else? What else?
The greenage.
The setbacks, I would think. I mean, I'm good with 8, but if it makes people happier, I would go 10. Because when we talked about it 2 years ago, we couldn't figure out if it was a safety issue, if it was a sightline issue, and we never came up with any reason that it wasn't 8. It was just 15 for no reason. So I would go with at least a 10, if not 8. And that's all I have.
All right. Let's see, we have David Lyons.
So I do have a couple of comments. You know, based on the square footage, based on everything that I read from all the different letters, I think we need to just take a look at that. I think there's a lot of feedback about the size of the houses. I think, Rick, we've done a great job by making it simple. And so I'm on board with making it simple. I think I would just like to understand a little bit more about, you know, what's magic about 45 versus 4 versus, you know, our consultants said somewhere between 35 and 4,000. So I'd just like to just kind of review that before we come to some conclusion. And the other is I'm not comfortable with the 3 floor. I do agree that the 2.5 is a problem in terms of defining it. Our consultants gave us some other suggestions that I think we might explore and just see if that would help define it better. I do think there's one of the things we heard of the towering effect, right? So one of the things we're talking about is getting rid of the setbacks. So if you take the example of the individual who said, I've got 12 feet in the backyard and I've got 3 floors, right? Because we don't have setbacks anymore. We have 3 floors that would go all the way up 35 feet. So I do think we need to think about that, especially the individual talked about somebody, let me change my shower because the house that went up next to me is so tall. And so I believe we have to balance between people's right to build and people who own a home and have been here for a long time, preserving what's around them as well. And as far as the corner setback, I'm willing to negotiate compromise on the corner setback. I think there are bigger things to solve here than just that.
Thank you, David. Rick Judge, you're the last commissioner to comment. If we still have you. I don't know if we lost you.
Unmute, Rick.
Let's see, I don't have your picture, Rick. There you go. Now give us your voice and we'll be good.
While he's getting ready, just a quick comment about comments made by Mr. Lyons. I think that David, when you said we're doing away with setbacks, you were referring to the tiered setbacks and not setbacks in general.
That is correct, sir.
Yeah, right.
And
and I believe those tiered setbacks apply under the current law only to yards which abut streets. Now, maybe Jim can correct me if I'm wrong about that, but the tiered setback would have applied or will apply currently to the front of the house, if the front of the house is on a street, but if the rear of the house is not on a street, then there would be no tiered setback under the current law, and you'd still suffer the threat of this towering effect that you're concerned about.
All right, thanks, Fred. Are you there, Rick?
I think we lost him.
What do we got here? I'm looking for his picture. We might have lost Rick altogether. Okay. All right, Rick, you try to get back. While you're trying to get back, well, I see your iPad's there, Rick, so you're there. You just got to get your video on and your sound is on. So if you can talk, let's hear you. So while you're getting your act together, Rick, let's ask and see if any of the town commissioners would like to say anything before we go away. David Moskowitz, County Commissioner Moskowitz.
Yeah, I just want to thank Mike, David, Jimmy, Rick, and Marty for volunteering and doing your part on a Friday night that's beautiful in the summer to get all this participation, gather all this information. It's a thankless job, and you're doing a great job of getting the public involved, and thank you for what you've been doing.
Very, very appreciative of your comments. Thank you. Commissioner Persinger?
Yeah, I just want to add my thanks as well. I think you guys have done a great job. You've taken a lot of time on this issue. It's a really tough issue. And I think when you come back, and I'm assuming you're going to come back and continue to talk about this again.
Yes.
I think, the more you can do to kind of simplify things for people so that they better understand exactly what it is you're trying to accomplish. Even to the extent of thinking about what the joint effect of some of these changes are. If you eliminate roof decks and you go to 3 stories and you require a roof pitch, what's that mean visually for people? If there's a way to help people better visualize what the impact of that is. And again, to understand your objectives. I think the tally that Dave Lyons did was interesting because there's at least one change here. The maximum floor area per dwelling unit is in a multi-unit structure. I think if I recall your tally, people were largely against that. That number doesn't work either as a maximum or a minimum. It really does have to be changed. So, again, communication and getting people to understand what your objectives are here, I think is going to go a long way toward, in some sense, selling the kind of changes, not just to the public, but to the town commissioners who sometimes, need to read things more carefully and need as much help along the way to understand exactly what the impact of changes are. So again, thank you for all the hard work.
Anytime, Gary. We actually enjoy it, and we have a great P&Z commission. A lot of hard work's going into this. We're very fortunate to have the folks that we have. So I haven't. Let me see if Mr. Jazinski, Commissioner Jazinski.
I'm here. My camera's just not on. Just echoing the thanks, and we're just looking forward to whatever you guys think is the right time to send us your recommendation.
Okay, excellent. Town Hall, Jim Deeds, you have anything to say? And we'll get back.
I think you all are doing a great job getting it all together. I think it's a difficult job. I noticed Dawn Hinks, our building inspector, and I have spent a lot of time recently in the past year since she's been on, meeting with architects and people before they build, making those inquiries and asking the same questions that some of the public have commented on. But I believe people are really now being more focused on what the setbacks, what the height limits are, what they can do, rather than bringing the architects in and designing a home. So the easier we can make it, the better it is for everybody. So I appreciate all the work that's being done.
Great. I'm enjoying being part of it. Stressful or not, it's actually fun being part of a transparent process where there's no hidden agendas and things like that. So really appreciate it. Rick, if you unmute yourself, we'll be able to hear your final comments, and then we'll roll to the property management maintenance thing and talk about that very quickly.
Let me go quickly while it's working. Is it working?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Am I on?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just appreciate all the feedback, the public input, which is what we've been so desperate to get. And I think we need a lot more of it. It's been a great start. I think the North End needs to chime in as to what they really want us to do with and for them. There are new property owners. There are old property owners. There's a fair way for everyone. And we're making great progress. I think if we push for more public input and have another meeting to rally this up, we'll come up with some very good recommendations.
All right. So that concludes, closes the public hearing and our discussion on it. And we will set a meeting up this weekend. I'll shoot some dates out to you guys to figure that out. And now let's open up the discussion for the property maintenance. And I think we're kind of all burnt out. So I have nothing to say on it yet, except for we're going to push that off probably till late fall. What we'll do is we'll just put one thing on the agenda in September to make sure we have plenty of time to get through it and we don't feel rushed. And then we get Dave Thomas back for his comments on property maintenance, if that's the wish of the other P&Z commissioners. But we will open up for public hearing anyway. But if, first of all, any discussion from any of the P&Z commissioners.
Just a quick process question, Mike. Are you talking about opening up for discussion with the public now on that, or putting it off?
Yeah, I was gonna, if we follow Fred's advice and just be consistent with this meeting, we could just open up for public hearing. So let's go ahead and open up the public hearing. and then have a commissioner's discussion with public. So I have nothing to say. Any planning and zoning commissioners have any comments at this point? Fred,
I'll
are we
just-
right?
Yeah, I've got a comment, just a question about the next subject. We talk in the agenda about abandoned or disabled properties, and we're really looking at an ordinance that is property maintenance, which is maybe an aspect of that is things that are abandoned, but the abandoned property might be just one part of the property maintenance ordinance. I don't see why we talk about it as a let me just look here.
So it's got the boarded up windows in there, Marty, on at 138-21, the third page, where we talk about, except for an emergency or like a period of a few days, 30 days or so, you can't be boarding up the house and abandoning it and going off to jail or something. You gotta, when the town's not going to tolerate having boarded up windows, 12 months of the year. So it kind of fits in. This could give us more time to massage this. Town halls looked at it and helped us, a little bit, and so we could just take a little more time to comment on that. Right now, I think we're all focused mainly on the FAR, and I really don't want to rush the property maintenance one throw.
Well, certainly, I guess, maybe I would just say that maintenance certainly includes something that's neglected. I mean, that's obviously a maintenance issue, and even abandoned houses. So, but it just struck me as something different than what the maintenance thing talks about. The maintenance ordinance that we're looking at is 5 or 6 pages, and I think the neglected or abandoned homes is, I don't even know if it's mentioned in those 7 pages. But anyway.
You're right, Marty. I didn't do a good job on the posting either. So, because I think I took the direction, I don't know where I got those words. I think it might have been from the town commissioners, but we can clean that up. That's a good.
Yeah,
note.
I mean, I think there was an issue, at least the one I recognize in town, where Ed's Chicken restaurant burned down, and that sat for 2 years or so before it was repurposed, I guess you might say, or reconstructed.
Yeah.
And I think that was an issue that the town needs to deal with. I mean, these old buildings that were sitting there for 2 years, they were torn down in the final analysis. There was really no use for them to be sitting there for 2 years. I mean, that would be an abandoned property issue that I would think that we might want to raise here.
So yeah, I hear you. I think we want to add some abandoned language. Then that's what you're saying. Then that might address the.
Maybe I mean that's the single issue. Now, some people say that abandoned property is a real problem in town, and I don't recognize that, and we need to open that, need to explain that, I guess, if that's the issue. But anyway, that's my comments. Thank you.
All right, David Lyons.
So just from reading all the comments from the public, the big issue that drew a lot of attention was 138-15 underbrush and encroachments. And so I think we may want to take a hard look at that. That caused a lot of people to respond about the city telling people how they had to shrub and manage their property in the right of way. So that was a very hot button that I think we may want to take a long look at.
Perfect. We will do that.
Thank you.
All right. Jimmy O'Connor, do you have any comments if you're still with us? Yep, you're here. Jimmy?
I'm here, yeah. I have no comments.
All right. Rick Judge?
Rick's gone.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, he's gone. That's all right. So let's talk. Let's get Dave Thomas back in here and see Dave's comments, because I think he's the only person from the public.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike.
All right.
Good evening, everybody.
Hello, Dave.
I had written earlier this week a letter to Jim Dedes, and I don't know if you guys have had a chance to see the letter, have it circulated.
I don't recall seeing yours, David. David Lyons, did you see it?
Yeah, it has.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I think I've seen that.
I've seen
Okay, in my bad.
One of the handicaps of this new technology.
All right.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I would, like to have some references on what we could look at those international standards for maintenance
Well, specifically, and this is my follow-up to that letter, hoping that you had the opportunity to see it. I would recommend the 2018 IEBC, International Existing Building Code.
Yeah.
That dovetails with the other I codes or international codes that Dewey Beach and Howard and Sussex County already have. We have Dawn Hinks, our building inspector, who is really essentially, because of her occupational expertise and background and training, the expert witness that would be a starting point for the committee. I know going back to Mr. Rutherford, I've talked to folks connected with the town about this for a while. One example was after the 2003 Station nightclub fire in West Warwick, Rhode Island. There were a number of places that had updated, modernized exits. And that's the original perception I had with the proposed ordinance. It speaks to things that affect the appearance of a property, but it really doesn't go into the health, safety kind of aspects. Falls, collapse, and then with the chicken heads, you can have a derelict property that is hazardous. But as to existing buildings, you have questions about balconies, stair step systems, canopies, overheads, and the like. And the longer a building gets older, it simply becomes obsolescent. Decks that were safe previously no longer are, and whatnot. And so the beauty of the International Existing Building Code is that it is a comprehensive document that dovetails with what we already have in the way of the International Building Code. So if you read the introduction, you know, you kind of wonder, well, why wouldn't we have a code like this? Kind of like, why would a jurisdiction in this day and age not have a building or a plumbing or an electric code? Well, believe it or not, there are places in the United States, counties out in South Dakota and Wyoming, that to this day do not have building codes. But if you're going to have a code, and this is the other aspect I wanted to toggle into, a lot of it is of the cosmetic end of it. But then there is a paragraph that jumps all the way to condemnation. And then under the procedures and penalties, you can leave a message within 96 hours on an answering machine. And if there's no request for an appeal within 96 hours, then the penalties kick in. And then if there is an appeal filed, the town council becomes the trial court.
All right, so Dave,
Do you want to do that?
let me just save you some time. All right, I talked with Dawn about the International Property Code, all right? And so I'm gonna revisit that conversation with her and see what she wants to do. But the general consensus, Scott, town manager, I thought that he has a lot of experience with it from Dover, and of course he's not with us anymore. But and she obviously has experience from Sussex County. I don't think that the county adopted the entire international code provisions, but we will definitely go back to Dawn and we'll ask her. But this is what popped out of the system a while ago. So we heed your comments, and if you stay tuned till later in the fall, if you track the public notices, what we're going to do is we're going to meet in September on the FAR stuff. We won't put this back on the agenda, and we'll work on it for the next couple months, and then in the fall and over the winter if needed, we'll look at that. But yeah,
that sounds like
I'm an ICC guy, definitely.
Sounds like a reasonable plan. I just wanted to plant some seeds today.
Gotcha.
I am supportive that we should have a maintenance code.
Yep.
But yeah, and you're all right. Most jurisdictions, when they adopt the International Building Code, they will do it with some modification suitable to where they are. But a whole separate code is the International Existing Building Code. So it's one thing if you're building a building new, and then it's another if you have a building that was built to the code that existed right after the Ash Wednesday storm of 1962. And that deck, that stair step system, that balcony, that canopy, that ceiling may very well, for a number of reasons, no longer be safe. And the question is, what do you do when you have that kind of situation? And that's where it kind of ties the hands of the building code official if that isn't there. And then if you have a single paragraph that talks about some property being condemned because in the building inspector's opinion, it's quote unquote unsafe, then you leap to a severe consequence where you don't have a code that spells it out. And that's my concern.
Thank you, Dave. I look forward to probably improving what we got. We've had a couple of comments from our commissioners, so we'll definitely get back on this after we get this the FAR stuff straightened out. So thank you so much for chiming in. And
yeah, we can have a better and safe little town with the appropriate adoption, I think.
Exactly. Yep, we're on it. So
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Dave. Take care. All right. I think we're looking for a motion to. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. No. Yeah. Is there anybody in the public? Anybody else?
Anna Legates, Jay Marowitz, Marcia Scheck, and Dave Welborn are still in the waiting room. If you don't mind, if I bring each of them in.
Oh yeah. What are we? Are we going back to the FAR? Or you're not sure what they want to talk about?
No.
We can't go back, right?
Well, we've moved on to another agenda item. So do they wish to speak about property maintenance?
I don't know until they actually are in the meeting.
Right. So let's try and find that out.
Here's Dave Welborn.
All right. So Fred, we're not allowed to talk. We're not allowed to talk about the first one anymore, right?
Well, we've moved from that agenda item to a new agenda item.
Okay.
So we're now there were a couple of people who wished to make comments apparently who were never connected for whatever reason.
Can we? Are we allowed to go back to it? I mean, I don't know.
Well, let's see what they want to do.
All right.
I mean, in dealing with the technical challenges that we have, we don't want to be too strict with some of these procedural rules.
Okay. I'm good with listening. I mean, I don't want to blow anybody off, and we are going to have another meeting, but I mean,
I think we can go back to the hearing. No issue. I don't think that's an issue.
so we officially closed the property maintenance. Well, wait, no, we haven't officially closed it. We'll say we'll officially reopen the other one if that's what they want to talk about. So Ashley, you tell us what we're doing.
Okay.
It
Like
does,
Fred says, let's see what they want to talk about. That's
it
a
does
good,
not appear
good
that
start.
Welborn or Anna Legates are there. I
right.
believe Vera Marowitz is in front of the
And
computer.
there's Vera. Looks like she's trying to disconnect.
I think so as well.
That's my impression.
All right.
It looks like it. Yeah.
All right.
All right, good.
We're good.
Yep, we're good.
All right, looking for a motion to adjourn, and we'll get back to this later on. Any final closing comments? I have none.
I have none.
All right. So we need a motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn.
Jimmy? All right. Second it from someone?
I'll second it, Marty.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, y'all. Thank you. Have a great
Okay,
evening.
thank you all.
Aye.
Thank you.
Bye.